been working on it for a little bit and I just hadn't said it out loud. I was just like, wait, don't burn your bridge, wait. And then one day I was just like, I just want to do it.
Well, I don't think trans women are women, I think they're pussies. I saw a trans woman comedian once and that guy was so bad, I thought for a second he might actually be female inside.
And then after that gig, I got asked not to do trans material anymore at the open mic.
Is there any other material that is off limits? Have you heard of that? Of them saying to anyone else, don't tell these kind of jokes?
I don't think so. I started comedy a long time ago. My mum is a comedian. She was quite well known a few years ago, Fiona O'Loughlin.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Fiona O'Loughlin.
I have free range, my children. So that means, if they want to play on the roof, they can play on the roof. Except for the kid next door, he couldn't play on the roof because he was IVF. He cost them thousands, So
I grew up in the comedy world. And I didn't start doing comedy till I went to Ireland in my early 20s, and I gave it a go because nobody knew who my mum was. So I was like, I can finally try without being, held to this standard or under her shadow. And the first time I ever did comedy, a guy was like, do you know Fiona O'Loughlin? He was an Australian guy who was at the Irish pub.
So it's pretty easy for me to get my Irish visa. I just rang up the embassy in Sydney and they said, look, Biddy, just go down to your local bakery, steal a loaf of bread and we'll send you right back.
So I did it for a couple of years in Ireland, and then I came back to Australia and I stopped doing it for a while, which was partly because of Mum. I think, I didn't want to challenge her, didn't want to compete, I suppose. So I just went to film school and I did other things. I always did a gig here and there, but I didn't pursue it until March 2020.
The world will soon enter a pandemic phase.
Because I've got great timing. The world shut down and I just kept doing it. I got pregnant because I didn't social distance. And just sort of slowly chipping away at it. But when I was pregnant, I was working as a data wrangler for Territory Cops, that reality TV show. So data wrangling, boring job, you just got to watch the computer. So I watched a lot of podcasts. I heard a woman called Kelly J. Keane, Posey Parker, talking on trigonometry.
Posey Parker, welcome to Trigonometry.
Thank you very much.
And she piqued me.
Generally speaking, I don't know what rights they don't have except to invade women's spaces. That seems to be the beginning and end of the demand.
It's not that I ever thought trans women were actually women. I just thought, it doesn't matter. They're just whatever, use their names. And then she was the one who in 1 hour made me realise how important this issue is.
If a man wants to have fake breasts and invert his penis and cut his testicles off and call himself Sheila, it's not really any of my concern as long as he doesn't infringe upon my rights and my spaces. And my rights would be to go into a female-only space and there to only be women in it.
The jokes took a while to come. Do you know what I mean? From the activism, I suppose. But activist, I'm just someone who's reacting to the activists, the trans activists, going, hang on, no, you can't actually take away our single-sex spaces and our words and our rights. And then I did a show called Kill Tony in America in Austin in March.
Make some noise for your next comedian, Biddy O'Loughlin, everybody.
There's an air of just the Wild West is back, and it's exciting. People are allowed to say what they want.
I'm a single mom. I didn't find out the sex of my baby when I was pregnant, but I was kind of hoping for a miscarriage. At 20 weeks, I was convinced I was having a boy because I was sitting on the couch still waiting for him to make a move. And at 10 weeks, I didn't get that test to find out if my baby had Down syndrome because I didn't care. I would have raised it. If my kid had an extra chromosome, I would have taught it to say funny things. Like when people say, have we met before? They could go, nah, I've just got one of those faces.
I was shocked, I'm not edgy up there. So I came back to Adelaide in March with the intention to get up at the open mic every week. And I did that. And then I got asked not to do trans material about a month or so into that. And there is another open mic actually at the Duke. And after the other open mic banned me from doing trans material, I got a gig at that open mic as a feature act, and they said, please, no trans material. Just out of the blue, sent me a message. So like word got around that I was killing at open mics. And the gig at the Cranker was just a regular, nice spot that I get maybe 3 or 4 of them a year. When I have done these trans jokes at the Cranker, it was like half the audience loved it and half of them wanted to kill me. And each time I've done it, I believe they've had complaints. The guy who runs that was pressured to remove me from the bill from the people who own the pub or run the pub.
Do you know those people who own the pub?
Not personally, but I used to, I live around the corner from it, so I'm always walking past. I was just thinking yesterday, because it's the bar staff who have complained about me, and they're probably just like pulling pints and going, there she goes again. I must annoy them with my make women female again hat, walking past a toddler who I'm not indoctrinating. And I really love that Cranker comedy, and it's a real bummer that he asked me or told me I couldn't be on it, but he's been strong-armed by the pub. And I guess it was just one complaint too many plus the bar staff, and they just went, no, get her off. Don't give her a microphone. Don't let her speak this evil truth. So I went to the Duke of York Hotel, which is just down the road, and they're happy for me to say anything so long as I pay the room hire. And voila, that's where we're at. I've done one preview already. I've got another one in a couple of weeks.
Alice Springs is an interesting place, statistically speaking. We've got the highest number of lesbians per capita in the country. We've got the highest number of university degrees per capita in the country. True story. And apparently we're the stabbing capital of the world. That's right, Darwin. We've got a lot of smart, angry lesbians with knives. Speaking of lesbians, happy International Men's Day.
In Australia, sometimes it feels like I'm never going to get anywhere because I don't think women have willies. I even spoke to a comedy manager just a couple of months ago, and he said, are you still talking about that stuff? Like, it's in trans stuff. And I think like even in this last couple of months, he would probably be like, oh, maybe it's okay, But I've just felt the pressure, like, shut up, and I lost a lot of comedy friends. Like, I was friends with all of them because I grew up in comedy, like some of the biggest ones in Australia. And they unfollowed me when I first spoke up, which was shortly after my daughter was born.
I firmly believe that if I had been born 10 years later, I would have caught this social contagion. I was born in the late 80s and I grew into a bit of a tomboy. I loathed the thought of puberty. I started dieting at 13 to prevent getting a period. I hated my breast buds and I imagined a machine that would suck them away. I even wished I'd been born a boy. But all of that normal teenage angst passed. I love being a woman and I'm so glad I was able to breastfeed my daughter.
Yeah, it's funny though, cancel culture. I was worried about it yesterday. I was like sad that I'd lost the gig. I was nervous about the advertiser ringing me about it because that's how the story got out, just through the Adelaide advertiser. And I was really nervous that it was going to be like a hit piece and cause me more grief. But I did it, and my fear was interfering with my instincts, like speak the truth. It was telling me, be quiet, you've got a daughter, you've suffered enough, like she's suffered because she's got a single mum who has less support due to this thing. But then, that's just fear talking, and she's actually got a mum who's honest and, is fighting for her rights, because if I don't do this, then she's going to have to do it. We can do this now and save our daughters from this fight as much as possible, because it will take a while for the madness to end.